Every classroom has one. For most of the last century, this child was a discipline problem. Not a medical one. Not a neurological one. A behavior problem, to be corrected. And so, for 100 years, we corrected the wrong thing. The words came easily. They were cheap, they were obvious, and they explained nothing. Here is what is actually happening. The mind is not empty of attention. It is flooded. The fan. The clock. A song from Tuesday. Tomorrow's test. Every signal arrives at the same volume. Nothing is allowed to matter more than anything else. So the name is a lie. There is no deficit of attention. It swings. It floods, then it vanishes. 6 hours on something that fascinates you, and not 4 minutes on the thing that is due. The problem was never the amount. It was the steering. Underneath it is chemistry. A task appears. A signal has to travel, from wanting to doing. Sometimes it arrives, and the work simply starts. And sometimes it fades on the way, and the task sits there for weeks. This is why urgent beats important. Time works differently too. The clock stops being a line and becomes a wall. A deadline 3 weeks away does not exist. Then, overnight, it is the only thing that does. None of this is rare. Roughly 1 child in 20. Around 1 adult in 40. And it runs in families as reliably as height does. Which means it was never a failure of parenting, or of character, or of trying hard enough. Go back to that room. One in 20 is not an exception. It is 1 in every class, every year, for a century. All of them were told the same thing. All of them were told wrong. How that happened is the next part of the story. London, 1902. A physician gives a set of lectures to the Royal College. He describes 20 children who are bright, and impulsive, and cannot hold still. He calls it a defect of moral control. 120 years later, we are still arguing with that sentence. Then, in 1937, an accident. A doctor in Rhode Island gives a stimulant to children with headaches. The headaches barely move. The schoolwork improves. The children call them the arithmetic pills. And then, for 25 years, almost nobody follows it up. Instead, the condition gets renamed. Again, and again. Hyperkinetic impulse disorder. Hyperkinetic reaction of childhood. Attention deficit disorder, and finally, hyperactivity gets added back on. It takes until 2013 for the manuals to admit that adults have it too. 7 names. The same children, the whole time. And every one of those names was written from watching boys. A boy who cannot sit still interrupts the room. He gets noticed. A girl who is quietly somewhere else interrupts nothing at all. So she is not referred, and the diagnosis waits until she is 30, or 40, or never. By the 90s, the argument had turned loud. Sugar. Television. Parenting. A condition invented to sell pills. None of it survived contact with the data. Because by then we could see what the thing actually was. Not a missing orchestra. A conductor who keeps losing the beat. Working memory, time, priority, impulse, emotion. All present, badly coordinated. And in some regions, finishing their development about 3 years late. Late, not absent. You stop trying to install willpower. You start building scaffolding. Time goes on the wall, where it can be seen. Memory goes on a list, where it can be trusted. And the shame, the part that took the longest, gets put down. Because it was never a character flaw. It was a wiring difference, badly named. Which leaves one last thing worth saying. The mind that cannot filter is the same mind that catches what everyone else walked past. It was never broken. It was just never asked what it was for.